The voice of women. The voice of women, 91.7.
Here on the evening experience this fine evening, we have a focus on COVID-19 pandemic, women protection and their improvements. We've seen a lot going on. We've seen a lot going on in Nigeria today with regards to rape. And yes, we have to put in mind that we're still battling coronavirus. Yes, we're yet to conquer that pandemic. It is also there ravaging the society. Now, coupled with gender-based violence, the surge, it is definitely, as I stated, it is not something you'd say you haven't noticed except you've been under the rock. Looking at it, you see that this is something that needs immediate attention. It needs immediate intervention, from all and sundry. So today on the evening experience, we're discussing COVID-19 pandemic with focus on women protection and improvement. Without a doubt, there is a need for women's safety. There's a need for the protection and the security, guaranteed security of our women in Nigeria without any form of compromise. And this is what we're going to be talking about today on the evening experience. Not to forget, it is a fine Thursday evening here, the 4th day in the month of June 2020, and it's 25 minutes to 6. And not to forget, I've got over the phone Mrs. Loretta Okolo. She's the treasurer of the Christian Women, for excellence and empowerment in the Nigerian society, and she's representing the Federal Capital Territory Abuja chapter. Today, as I stated, we're going to be doing justice to this. But yes, you can as well be a part of this conversation because there's a lot to be said. There's a lot of opinions. There are lots of questions to be answered. So feel at ease to share with us, relay your questions over our social media handles as well at WFM917, okay, at WFM917. I'm not just going to be doing this alone on the program. Of course, I've got with us over the phone. Yes, I've got with us over the phone Mrs. Loretta Okolo. She's the treasurer of the Christian Women for Excellence and Empowerment in the Nigerian society, and of course representing the Federal Capital Territory Abuja chapter. And I'm talking about CWEEN. It is a non-governmental network of praying and proactive Christian women, and yeah, they're passionate about the plight of women and girls in the Nigerian society, fighting for their rights and touching as many lives as possible whilst reaching as many women as possible. So at the moment, I've got over the phone Mrs. Loretta Okolo. Good evening to you.
Hello.
Hello, Loretta. I can hear you quite loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Amazing. So yes, we're talking on COVID-19 pandemic. We're focused on women protection and improvement. So quickly now, because of our time, I need to ask you, in what ways exactly do you feel that COVID-19 has affected our women?
Yes, it has really affected women and girls, if I may add girls. So they have suffered a great deal with the attendant lockdown of the pandemic. First, their livelihoods have, practically been affected. The majority of our women have their economic activities cut down by the lockdown.
Yes.
Especially those who generate income on a daily
basis, exactly.
And they have little or no savings. And the little savings they probably had, evaporated after a few days. And they have had to depend on other people to survive. This has not been easy at all and has had a lot of them frustrated. As they are also under lockdown with equally frustrated husbands or partners. The husbands and even the women who are used to going out and, just going about their activities and maybe some outing are locked together. They can't go out. So many people, they got frustrated just staying together and not doing anything. And these frustrations have given rise to a lot of violence in families. And women and girls are the ones taking the brunt of it, being at the other end of the stick.
Okay.
When women and girls are being systematically and consistently raped all over the world, Nigeria not being left out. There are rape cases and incidents are reported on a daily basis that are affecting mostly teenagers and even children. Every day you read on the news about, this person, one person or the other being raped.
Yes.
Some of them are as little as 9 years, some are some months old. Being raped by people known to them.
Mm-hmm.
Some are raped to death. That is what is trending now, for them to kill.
Exactly.
after raping.
Okay, now let me come to you now, Loretta, because of our time. Looking at this, we've been battling coronavirus. It is really one that has been affecting everybody without exclusion of anybody. So, and now looking at this, there is being the introduction, there's been a surge in gender-based violence. Now our women, our girls are not safe. They are all going about their work, being afraid, being fearful. So what do you think, women can do, to protect themselves against violence, against harm, and against issues of rape?
Yes, first, yes, they have to think of their safety. You understand? They have to find themselves to be in safe places. Let's start from there. They also have to change their behavior. What they are used to doing before that may put them at risk. They have to, be cautious. And we have all these rape enablers. There are these enablers that say that they got tempted or they were provoked into it by the behavior of the girl or by what she was wearing or what was she doing in that part, of the situation that she reached. And so many of them are influenced by alcohol, some are on drugs. So practically they are not in their right senses when they commit some of these things. So we girls, we women, we have to be very, very careful.
Okay.
About where we're going to be. Then we need to have information about the basic services, about security, about referral services. Because if you fall victim, you have to be able to move on in life and know what to do.
Okay. All right, then. Thank you so much for the evening experience tonight. And yes, we're talking on COVID-19 pandemic with emphasis on women protection and improvement. Over the phone at the moment, I've got Mrs. Loretta Okolo. She's the treasurer of the Christian Women for Excellence and Empowerment in the Nigerian Society, talking about the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja chapter. And together we're talking about this. It's important we dwell on this. It's important we find a lasting solution to this. So do also let me know your thoughts. Send in your input as well via text, strictly via text on 070317 56537. So Loretta, once again, we've seen these, and now I want to know, what exactly would you say is the reason, or what are the reasons, why women find it difficult to come out to talk about these, trauma that, that they face, or talk about these violence that they experience at home, be with their partners, be with random strangers. Why is it that we have certain women that find it difficult to come out to talk about it?
Yeah, some of these women don't even know their rights in the first place. They don't know they can. And then these incidents are seen as taboo. It's a shameful thing. It's a disgrace to have been a victim of such. So some of them are shameful, and some are being discriminated against because of that. They are stigmatized. So they don't want to talk in the first place. And then on another level, some of the people, or most of the people who even perpetrate these rapes and sexual abuse are people that are known to them. Some are even their fathers, the father, daughter, uncle, or close family friends. They are people that are known to them. So the family themselves, they want to cover up, they want to cover it up, and they want to settle it, and they don't want it to get out. The women that go through this with their husbands are even afraid that if they speak against their husband, the husband may drive them out
of the house.
Out of the house. So they are not doing anything. They don't have any means of livelihood. They are dependent on the man. They are dependent on their business. And if they leave, how would they take care of themselves? Some are afraid of that, so they don't speak out. And if is being perpetrated by an outsider, also in the community, the way the community perceives somebody who has been raped also matters. If there is no acceptance, those people will feel that everybody will be pointing fingers at them and, discriminating against them and talking about them, that kind of a thing. So some of them don't want to speak out.
All right, thank you so much for sharing this. It's 6:45 on Women Radio, WFM 91.7, and yes, we're still talking on COVID-19, and with emphasis on the protection of our women. It's important, as I stated, that we continue to talk about this. And you spoke about stigma, Loretta. You said certain things about stigma. I want to know, what do you think? Why do you think there is so much stigma? Why do you think there is so much silence regarding gender-based violence in this part of the world. At least we've seen other parts of the world, especially in developed countries. They do, at least we see that every now and then they try to speak up against these things. They try to come out and perhaps, sue these perpetrators of such vices. But here in this part of the world, we just see that, okay, most people would just rather not say much on gender-based violence, and there is so much stigmatization on gender-based, on victims of this violence. Why do you think this is the narrative in Nigeria?
Yes, we have some negative socio-cultural norms which have been instrumental in condoning or supporting these associated gender-based violence and harmful practices. These practices, they remain driven by gender stereotypes and patriarchy, where women and girls are seen as second-class citizens.
Okay.
Yes, they are seen as second-class citizens. Culture is a way of life of a people, and gender stereotypes are rooted in all cultures, not only with us. They influence the stereotypes. They influence how we perceive ourselves and others in our community and society. Gender stereotypes are generalizations about the attributes, differences, and roles that men and women play in society or community, as in decision making. And then because of that, you find that in the intimate partner violence, it was meant to be a taboo, and therefore it was not discussed openly. It is seen as a thing of shame, not to be identified, hence the stigma and discrimination and the silence. Seeing women and girls as second-class citizens as opposed to men and boys, it makes the men perceive women as their assets to be toyed with, and they are treated and used as a life. Hence, there's power imbalance, which makes men to abuse their power and inflict violence, sexually or otherwise, on women and girls. Rape has never been our culture,
Yes,
most perpetrators of rape that are trying to make it so. So it should actually be resisted.
Now, focusing on this, we've seen that, most of our women, this is what they've been going through without anyone to turn to, without anyone to run to. But now, with regards to CWEEN, we know that CWEEN is a non-governmental network, of praying and proactive Christian women. And CWEEN is also passionate about the plight of these women of women and girls in the Nigerian society. So I want to ask now, how have CWEEN, been able to reach out to vulnerable women and girls during this lockdown, during this pandemic period?
Yes, we reached out to vulnerable women in some communities with some palliatives. We took some palliatives to them, some food items, some drugs, some toiletries, things that women may need and they cannot afford because of the lockdown. And we contributed money to some of them who could not pay their health bills and other things. We are also in partnership with NAPTIP, and we can send cases to them, especially rape cases. We are currently following up on some rape cases. And of particular interest is a 9-year-old girl who was raped by her neighbor. While the family was rushing her to the hospital, they were stopped by the police, who beat up the father and said that it was not an emergency. This was during the lockdown. And even when they eventually got to the hospital, they were told that it would take 1 week to get the test results. It was also seen not to be an emergency. This tells you where, the issues that concern women are placed, and how they have been perceived, especially by men. Above all, apart from that, we have disseminated some information through the social media, flyers on posters, and already some women are reaching out to us for help.
Okay.
Above all, we're a praying network. We pray fervently. We pray fervently 24 hours. We're praying against the pandemic. We're praying for prevention of all the attendant abuses that come from it. We're praying for the victims, those that have been victims of rape or sexual abuse or any kind of abuse. We're praying for them. We're praying for their healing. We're praying for their recovery. You know.
All right.
So we're doing that 24 hours, and we're already getting results.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you so much. It is Women Radio, WFM 91.7. It's the evening experience here. My name is Anthony Damal, and we've been talking on COVID-19 pandemic with a focus on women protection and improvement. I've been talking to Mrs. Loretta Okolo. She's the treasurer of the Christian Women for Excellence and Empowerment in the Nigerian Society. That's the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja chapter. And yes, we've been talking about this. And before we let you go, because of our time, I'm going to have to ask you now, what exactly is the way forward? This is what we're looking forward to. What is the way forward? We have women that have experienced these, gender-based violence during the lockdown, even some before the lockdown. Most of these people, they tend not to recover from these, from these violence, from these abuses. So how then do you think, what advice can we give to these people? Do you think they can ever live life, normally again?
Actually, women who have experienced these abuses in the past, and even during the lockdown, they can have their lives back, Each case is unique. Some women have better coping strategies, and they just move on in life. There are others who suffer trauma and health issues, depending on what the incident is. For those who cannot cope, there are referral, there are some support services, there are some basic services and referral services that will help them to cope and recover, ranging from health services, the judiciary, the security, legal, they can seek all those. Okay. But like we discussed before, some of them don't like to, speak out or be identified as a victim of rape. But with enough counseling and with enough information, if they are bold and confident enough to step out and seek help, they will surely get it. There are some specialized cases that need a special work to deal with them.
All right.
You may have to employ psychologists, you may have to employ psychiatrists. The family is there to support, community is there to support. Okay. When the community all become aware, some of them are not aware as well of all these things. If there are enough, education given to them about this sexual abuse, and they all come together and agree that, look, let's intervene and do something
about it.
They can help the women feel that they belong, and they will not feel like outcasts. They will not feel stigmatized. It's acceptance that they need. When they have that acceptance, they are able to, to get over it. Not
Definitely.
That it just go away. It may just take time depending on the coping strategy of
the victim. Okay. Thank you so much. It is 6 minutes to 6 on Women Radio, WFM 91.7. I really appreciate all your input on the program. But before we let you go, it's important. I'd love to get your final words with regards to this. How then do you think we can continue to ensure that our women are well protected, not just during this pandemic season, but also post COVID-19? How do you think they can be adequately protected, in such cases?
Yes, the government can actually come in as well. By the time they advance the rights of women, we already have some instruments that are dealing with all this violence. Like, our constitution is there, the rights of women are there. We have the VAP Act, that's the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. We have the Child Rights Act to protect women. If these are put in place, they are domesticated, but not all over the state. If the government can enforce and implement this thing, it's enough to ensure the safety of women and their protection. Because the perpetrators will be prosecuted and dealt with. In fact, some states have started getting database of sex offenders. By the time there's a list and it's well coordinated, and these names are published, if it makes many people aware, if they come across these people, they will know that, look, these are sex offenders, or these are capable of doing this kind of a thing. And they're aware and they'll be more cautious. But the government will, can also help And communities, you cannot come together. The civil society, in fact, the civil society is doing so much concerning,
these
the fight
cases,
against
rape
rape and all that. And,
all right then.
all these things can help to protect women. And more especially women's groups should also be, their capacity should also be built on their rights. I'm telling you, by the time you know this is your right, then you know what to do. Anybody that, abuses you, you can take to court. You report to the police, you get the right redress, you get the right, you get justice. By the time these perpetrators know that they can be punished for what they are doing, I'm sure many of them will stop, and the women will feel protected.
All right.
Send your little girl out. You are not sure of her safety, where she's going, and all that. But if their security, person is in place, all over the place, watching, guiding, and all that, they can help to curb a lot of these things.
All right, then we're also looking forward to these, coming to fruition. Thank you so much, Loretta. Really appreciate your input on the program this evening. Yes, we've been talking to Mrs. Loretta Okolo. She's the treasurer of the Christian Women for Excellence and Empowerment in the Nigerian Society, Federal Capital Territory, Abuja chapter, and together we've been discussing COVID-19 pandemic with a focus on women protection and improvement. Once again, I really appreciate your insight on the program this evening.
Thank you.
All right then. So that will be all today on the Evening Experience.
WFM 91.7.